Welcome, and here we are with our fourth flip preaching video in our series Amazing Grace, as we continue to look through the Beatitudes that open the Sermon on the Mount. So we're up to our fourth Beatitude. We've had, blessed are the poor in spirit, blessed are those who mourn, blessed are the meek. And today we're going to be looking at, blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they will be filled. Now I want to look at that main phrase that we have, those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, and try and unpick maybe what that means to help us think this week and allow God to speak to us as we look and reflect and pray on this verse. So the first thing I want to talk about is the word righteousness. It's not a word really that actually we have a direct translation for. It means rightness, it means justice, it means something that maybe we can't quite get our heads around. I think when Jesus uses it, and in many of the occasions he uses it throughout Matthew's Gospel, it is a way of talking about the way that we live in God's kingdom, the way that God's kingdom is sought to be set out. And so that's why we want to encapsulate in it things like justice, things like rightness. So when we talk about those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, what we're thinking about is those people who long to see the world as God intended it to be. Those people who want to see God's justice reign. Those people who want to see God's kingdom being built and the rules that govern that kingdom, the things that Jesus talks about, in place. So when they look at the world and they see that it is not how they think God has intended it to be, that's when they hunger and thirst for righteousness. When they want to see it as God wants it to be. So that's the righteousness bit. How about the hunger and thirst bit? Now, sounds a lot simpler, doesn't it? Hunger and thirst. We all know what that is, and at some point in our lives we will have experienced it. You will have been hungry, even if it's just a short-term hunger, like you're having your tea an hour later than normal and your tummy's telling you that you should be eating and you're not. Or whether it's a more prolonged hunger, if you've been in hospital and you've had to not eat before an operation or after an operation, there's a couple of days where you just don't have any appetite and you don't really want to eat anything. And there is that sense of hunger that you have. Or thirst. Again, there'll be those times where your mouth's dry and your throat is parched and you just want to drink something, quench your thirst, as it were. We have these very physical words that Jesus uses to describe very physical feelings that we as humans have, because we need food and we need fluid, we need drink in order to survive, and our body craves them, it longs for them when we don't have them. And so hunger and thirst are something that we can all relate to. We all know what that feels like. So Jesus brings these two things together, those who hunger and thirst for righteousness. Well, the first thing I want to note is that if your hunger is there and if you are thirsty, then actually you are lacking something. This isn't for those who are satisfied with righteousness, those who have had their fill of righteousness already. This is for people who hunger and thirst for righteousness. That is for people who do not have what their body craves or what their heart craves or what their mind craves, those things that they see and they long for in order to fill a gap, to take away those pains that they feel. So Jesus is saying, for those people who lack righteousness yet desire it, for those people who hunger and thirst for it, they long for it, but they haven't as yet had that. Now we could see this in a number of ways. We could see this as those people who long to see God's kingdom being made real in and amongst them, that God's rule and reign and justice and his way of doing things be made real in the world around us. I long for that. I'm sure many of you long for that as well. But maybe this could be even just in those everyday decisions that we make. That actually, for all of us, we probably hunger and thirst for righteousness in lots of ways each and every day. If we don't, there's probably something wrong with us. You know, there's those times, again, we've all probably experienced them, where we lose our appetite, where we don't really want to eat or drink anything because we're unwell. It's not natural. You know, it's dangerous for us to go for periods without wanting food or without wanting to take a drink. You know, and if we get to that place, something has gone wrong. So if we're in a place where we don't long for righteousness, where we don't want to see the world a better place, then actually something's out of kilter and something's gone wrong that we need to right. So what I want you to do this week, as you have watched this video, as you spend time in prayer, as you spend time pondering these words, maybe you want to think about the last time you were hungry and what that felt like, and then ask yourself the question, do I feel like this about other issues? Do I look at the news or the newspaper or have conversations with friends or walk down my street and see things and get that sense in my stomach that it's not right, that it needs to be different? Or is there a greater longing, one that is larger than you can put your finger on, just that something isn't quite right in the world that you see? Or just in the small everyday decisions do you make? Is there times where you wish that they would just be more straightforward? Or are you the kind of person that's saying, actually, I don't feel that. You know, I don't sense that there's anything wrong. I don't see that. And maybe what's that about, God? I hope you've enjoyed this video. I hope you spend some time with God this week, just asking questions, searching and praying through these things. And we'll see each other on Sunday as we share together and discover more of what God is trying to teach us. Take care. Bye.